The world of Naruto has a bunch of overpowered clans, but the Uzumaki clan is perhaps one of the most infamous ones. They were so overpowered and so feared that what happened to them arguably makes the Uchiha massacre look like child's play, because it took several nations teaming up to destroy the clan itself, with the survivors going into hiding as a result, some of them hiding extremely far from their homeland, and some wouldn't even use their surname in public. Join me in today's newest edition of the Ninja Clan Handbook over here on the Naruto Explained channel, where we take a look at the Uzumaki clan by going over every single member of the Uzumaki clan from the Naruto era all the way to the Boruto era, which obviously this video will contain some spoilers for Boruto Naruto Next Generations and Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, so consider yourself warned. And what we'll do now is do a brief overview of the clan before going into every single member respectively. As previously stated, the Uzumaki clan were a mighty clan, feared for both their higher chakra levels than normal, but most specifically for their sealing jutsu, which the latter was so overpowered that Hashirama, a guy who is known in his era as being a god of shinobi, opted to make the Uzumaki clan allies and marry Mito instead of making enemies out the clan itself, which it should be worth noting the Uzumaki are distant relatives to the Senju clan. As a sign of good faith and honor of their alliance, the Uzumaki clan symbol was added to the flak jackets that Konoha shinobi wear, and as we learn in the 4th data book, during the early years of Konoha, the Uzumaki clan, they served as allies who would provide services to the village when it came to sealing jutsu, and as another sign of good faith by Konoha, they would allow the Uzumaki clan to construct a temple just outside of the village, specifically to store their masks. Each of these masks are linked to different Uzumaki clan sealing jutsu. For instance, the Reaper Death God sealing jutsu is just one of many. Due to their unnaturally strong life force and high chakra levels, most Uzumaki clan members had red hair. The red hair was a symbol of an Uzumaki who had inherited both the strong life force and the high quantity of chakra, but not every member of the Uzumaki clan has red hair. As we see in Kushina's flashback, where she explains the origins of the clan, which one of the byproducts of that strong life force is that they age much slower than normal humans, which is why even though Mito Uzumaki was born well before the founding of Konoha, she still had dark red hair. Another special trait of the Uzumaki clan is that they have the ability to heal themselves extremely quickly and recover from exhaustion much faster than normal shinobi. However, amongst a very small member of the Uzumaki clan, there are those who have a rare type of chakra, even amongst a clan such as theirs, which makes them well suited to become Jinchuriki and use the hidden jutsu of the Uzumaki clan, the adamantine sealing chains. Notable members who have this rare chakra are Kushina, Mito Uzumaki, Karin Uzumaki, and Honoka Uzumaki. It should also be worth noting that we know via the special guidebook that Kishimoto released in April of 2015 for the Naruto exhibit in Tokyo, Naruto as Hokage has officially made the Uzumaki clan a clan of Konoha, which, given that he's married into the Hyuga clan, one of the noble clans of Konoha, he has now indirectly added more status to the clan via nobility and the Byakugan Kekkei Genkai, since his children contain genes of the Byakugan, but only one of them so far, Himawari, has ever awakened it. So now that we've gotten the brief recap out of the way, let's go over all 16 members of the Uzumaki clan, including one adopted member of the clan and 2 who are descendants of the clan itself. Starting things off, we're going to be going with Naruto Uzumaki, the ultimate example of a zero to hero story. Originally made an orphan on the night of his birth, Naruto would grow up hated by numerous people inside the village, with people not even initially seeing him as Naruto, the troublemaking orphan, but instead they saw him as the nine-tailed fox itself. A young Naruto would get masks thrown at him in his face, unaware that the villagers were blaming him for the death of his own father, with the villagers made unaware of Naruto's lineage in order to protect him from Minato's enemies. In spite of being so hated and lacking for attention, Naruto would quickly become a force to be reckoned with after becoming a Konoha shinobi. Each mission that he went on, works of his exploits would slowly begin to win over the citizens of Konoha, as shown in the flashback during Naruto chapter 426, where we see the villagers warming up to Naruto and even show concern for his mental well-being after Jiraiya passed away. It was was a sign that long before he became a hero in the Fourth Great Ninja War, where his golden Kurama cloak would serve as a light shining in the darkness of that war, Naruto was doing the one thing that every man or woman who becomes Hokage had to do, which is earn the acknowledgement from the villagers who would one day be the people that he led. His battles with the Akatsuki would see Naruto expand his jutsu arsenal through nothing but, quite literally, his own hard work, sheer willpower, and his guts to never give up, which is confirmed by Hagoromo in Naruto chapter 670 that Naruto literally inherited nothing from either of his parents, despite them being so extraordinary as shinobi. Due to the Nine-Tails chakra mixing into his own chakra pool, Naruto would take advantage of the situation to become a hard-working menace, learning wind release using shadow clone training, and in only a short period of time he was able to accomplish the leaf splitting technique, which Kakashi tells him in Naruto volume 35 it usually takes 6 months of training to accomplish, and that even someone like Sasuke struggled with learning lightning release, albeit it only took Sasuke a few days to learn lightning release. Upon hearing this, Naruto would work even harder as a madman, and he would accomplish waterfall splitting using his wind release chakra nature drill training, which normally takes shinobi several years to accomplish. Naruto did this in only 6 days of training. This wouldn't be the only impressive thing that Naruto did either. Naruto would take training with Jiraiya very seriously, even as far back as when he was undergoing the Rasengan training, completing the first 2 steps of the Rasengan training in only 2 weeks with Jiraiya, stumbling and bumbling his way to complete the steps, and then when Tsunade wounded his pride, Naruto worked like a madman to put all those steps together to prove her wrong and win his bet with her, climaxing when he used a shadow clone to use a Rasengan against Kabuto successfully. During his 2.5 years of training under Jiraiya during the time skip, Naruto would make huge progress towards learning to fight back against Genjutsu, something that Naruto was naturally untalented at, even getting praise at from Itachi during their fight in the Kazekage rescue arc, which it should be worth noting, Itachi was using Sharingan Genjutsu on Naruto. He was not going to be able to break out of that jutsu on his own, but he was doing well enough against the Sharingan Genjutsu that he earned praise from a Genjutsu master in Itachi. He would also, over the span of a year and a half that would become what we know as Naruto Shippuden, go on to take the jutsu his father made for his mother, the Rasengan, and not only complete it by first adding wind release to it, as shown in Naruto chapter 339 when he uses his wind release Rasengan for the first time and overpowers Kakashi's Rasengan to the point of damaging Kakashi's arm. But then in 24 hours later, Naruto would take the wind release Rasengan and make a second jutsu, the wind release Rasen Shuriken, which would be so overpowered that it would sever the chakra network of Kakuzu, and initially it was called a forbidden jutsu by Tsunade for the reason that it did that to the chakra network as well as damaged Naruto's entire body, until Naruto was able to successfully throw the jutsu in the pain arc when he used Sage Mode to do so. The flexing on his pants, it continues when you go even further into the final third of the Naruto manga. By the end of the manga, Naruto, he would make a whopping 25 different versions of the Rasengan, showing that even for someone like Naruto who started out with the lowest level of expectations, that through hard work and unorthodox way of approaching things, even someone like Naruto could surpass a genius like his father, the 4th Hokage, one of the biggest prodigies in the series, with nothing more than his own hard work. In fact, the 4th Naruto databook would confirm for us that this was why the Sage of Six Paths chose Naruto to be the only person in the manga who ever had Six Paths Sage Mode, giving it as a reward to Naruto out of respect for the hard work that Naruto gave him, which Six Paths Sage Mode is the power that Naruto uses when he first arrives and he kicks away the truth-seeking orb from Might Guy. It basically allows Naruto to bypass the normal limitations of Sage Mode, which normal Sage Mode caps the user at how much nature energy they can draw in, with the chakra being equal to only the amount of chakra they possess, but Six Paths Sage Mode completely removes that cap, giving them access to an unquantifiable amount of power. Naruto uses Six Paths Sage Mode typically in conjunction with Six Paths Power, which that is the power of the 9 Biju being simultaneously used, evident when Naruto uses the Kurama Cloak after using Six Paths Sage Mode. The boy who couldn't make one simple clone in the first chapter of the series managed to finish the Naruto manga as the strongest shinobi in history, with what the 4th Naruto databook tells us is a mastery history of all 5 changes in chakra nature, and for the first time Naruto can properly use yin release, something that Naruto has always struggled with. Hence, he couldn't make a clone mirage of himself in chapter 1 of the manga. The boy who everyone thought was inferior to the golden prodigy Sasuke would not only save him from the darkness after Sasuke got lost in that cycle of hatred, but he would beat him during the final battle and break the very cycle of hatred that ensnared the reincarnates of Ashina and Inja for over 1,000 years. As 7th Hokage, Naruto was someone who had saved the world 2 times over before he had ever become Hokage, saving it once from Kaguya and then again from a descendant of Hamura in the form of Toneri. In the Boruto era, he would continue to defend the peace established by defeating the duo of Momoshiki and Kinshiki that Kaguya feared, including when they fused together, and he would then push Kaguya's superior Ishiki to the point of near death when he used Baryon mode during their fight. On top of being the reason that Kakashi was able to keep the Shinobi Alliance maintained after the 4th Ninja War, even expanding Konoha's alliance to a few smaller countries, Naruto would take over as Hokage right when the tech boom that Kakashi laid the groundwork for as Hokage, and Naruto do things like make the Uzumaki Clan an official clan of Konoha and continue to serve as the official leader of the Shinobi Alliance as Hokage, calling the shots. Under Naruto as Hokage, going to the academy as a shinobi, it was now optional. All children in the village, they would be taught how to use chakra and undergo some form of ninjutsu training. Basically, it's Naruto practicing what Hagoromo meant chakra to be. Basically, ninshu, use chakra to connect people. But once the kids reached a certain age, they got to make a decision. Do they continue to pursue general studies or do they become shinobi? Naruto's big heart, it would extend beyond his village, taking in the surviving Shin Uchiha clones and having them looked over by Kabuto in the orphanage that is run inside the village. And when he first met Kawaki, a boy who was starved for love, he took Kawaki in and he showed him for the first time what life felt like when you had the unconditional love of a father. And even after Naruto lost Kurama, Naruto would still continue to view Kawaki as a son and as a student, being the only person who Naruto ever took on officially as a student when he became Hokage. Sadly, Kawaki put Naruto through it as time would pass by, making Naruto, who initially struggled with finding balance between being a Hokage and a father, right when he began to find that balance, Kawaki would kill Boruto right in front of Naruto as Naruto begged him not to. And even after Shikamaru asked Naruto how he could not hate Kawaki, Naruto still viewed Kawaki as family who needed to be protected, even as he held the lifeless body of his son. When Boruto was brought back to life and Kawaki vowed to kill Boruto again, Naruto would stand up for Boruto's life, telling Kawaki that if he wanted to kill Boruto, he had to kill him first, which led to Kawaki sealing away Naruto and Hinata, telling Naruto that after he killed Boruto, he'd allow Naruto to take out revenge and kill him if he wanted to. In Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, we see how even though Naruto isn't even top 10 in the verse right now, a world without Naruto is a world that quickly spirals out of control without Naruto being there to be the glue that keeps everyone sticking together, which just further proves what Naruto said when he said he'd be a Hokage like none other before him and the best Hokage ever. He wasn't all talk, because this world without Naruto shows how deeply he is being missed. Up next, we're going to be going with Naruto's son, Boruto. Boruto originally first debuted in Naruto chapter 700 back in 2014. In the chapter where we met him, to say that Boruto was a bit of a brat is an understatement. He not only took a page out of his father's book pulling pranks for attention, but even went as far as to do maximum damage when pranking his father Naruto by having the most disrespectful things ever written on the Hokage faces on the day that Naruto held a massive 5 Kage summit in the village. On Hashirama's face, he'd write the word idiot. On Tobirama's face, he'd write the word dork. On Hiruzen's face, he would write pervert. On Minato's face, he would write geezer grandpa. On Tsunade's face, he wrote the words old hag. On Kakashi's face, Boruto chose to draw the ugliest mouth possible. On Naruto's face, he wrote shitty old man, which promptly had Iruka smiling as he watched Naruto scold Boruto. However, in the decade plus since that chapter came out, Boruto's character has evolved from being a prankster to being a prodigy. Kakashi. Even before he was given Momoshiki's Karma Seal, Boruto was growing at a rapid rate due to having people like Hinata and Naruto there to train him for many years before Boruto ever went to the academy, where by the time he graduated from the academy, he wasn't just considered a Chunin level in strength and skill. Kakashi pretty much said that he was easily at Chunin level, and in the promotion for the Boruto versus Momoshiki arc of the story, we're flat out told in the promotions and the official source materials that Boruto and Sarada were already strong enough to be considered at a Jonin level of power, and Boruto certainly knew this much, and by that point in time, Naruto had taken notice of his son, realizing that he was a lot more like Sasuke than he was like Naruto. This is why Boruto was bragging to his father that he'd already learned 3 changes in chakra nature at the age of 12. In the span of a few days of training with Konohamaru, Boruto would learn the Rasengan in only a few days. One more reason why Kakashi would later go on to call Boruto the second coming of Minato when he was training Boruto in the anime back during the car actuation arc. The reason for this is because Minato would learn extremely complicated jutsu extremely fast according to Kushina in the Minato one-shot manga chapter. However, Boruto's real growth would come not just when he got Momoshiki's Karma Seal, where the basic amp of karma was enough for Naruto to be forced to brace for an attack and use a shadow clone to eat one of Boruto's lightning release during their training session, but Boruto, his training would also cause him to explode up several tiers of power over the 3-year time period where he trained with Sasuke first and then he trained with Kashin Koji, training with Sasuke for a year and Kashin Koji for 2 years. Now a rogue ninja, framed for the murders of Naruto and Hinata, who were really sealed away by Kawaki, and everyone's memories of them were swapped to Boruto and Kawaki due to omnipotence, Boruto found himself getting to live out his dream at long last. However, that dream, it came at the price of living through a nightmare. While he did get to train with Sasuke for an entire year, traveling across the continent to avoid Anbu Black Ops from all 5 nations that were out to kill them, Boruto would finally begin to win the trust of his sensei Sasuke, and as he did so, Sasuke taught him all the sword skills Sasuke learned from underneath Orochimaru, and every jutsu that Sasuke knew that did not require Sharingan. Yet on one fateful night, Boruto and Sasuke would be ambushed by Code and his army of 10-tailed soldiers that are called Claw Grimes. During this battle, Boruto would break his sword, Sasuke would be heavily injured, and as Code and his army began to surround them, Boruto off-screen would attempt to use their trump card, the Karma Seal of Momoshiki, which gave him access to Momoshiki's own power on top of Boruto's power and Momoshiki's 1,000 years of fighting experience. Yet when Boruto attempted to do so, Momoshiki almost hijacked his body due to Boruto being unable to control karma, and as Boruto would describe it in chapter 15 of Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, it was a feeling like he was dying yet remaining conscious while doing so. It would be because of this that Sasuke would tell Boruto in chapter 5 of 2 Blue Vortex they had no chance to win, and so he wanted Boruto to look after Sarada for him to refine the jutsu that Sasuke taught him, and Boruto would watch as Sasuke would charge headfirst alone into the battle against Code and his 10-tails army to buy time for Boruto to escape. The battle would be so intense that before Sasuke fell in battle, he would kill several of those 10-tailed soldiers, hacking some of them clean in half, cutting off the heads of others, cutting off the tails and arms of a few before he was finally bitten and sealed away into a tree. At some point after this, Boruto, while being cornered by shinobi from the Hidden Sand Village, he would be saved by Kashin Koji, who would take the next 2 years to train Boruto for the threat that currently exists beyond Ishiki, a being who is known as Jura, and Boruto's training would see him embody every bit what Kakashi and a handful of others said about Boruto. He is truly the second coming of Minato given how quickly he learns things. In the next 2 years, using Kashin Koji's ability that was called 10 Directions, Boruto would learn an inferior version of the Flying Raijin. Inferior in that Boruto needs several minutes to mark large objects like people, and it takes some time to teleport, and he's unable to accurately teleport to a specific marker that is identical to another and in close proximity to the other markers. Whereas Minato can do all of this accurately in mere seconds as easily as breathing. However, Boruto would learn other jutsu like Kakashi's Purple Lightning, choosing to run it through his sword, similar to how Sasuke would run Chidori through his sword. He would also make a jutsu called the Rasengan Uzuhiko. When used at its maximum power, it uses chakra directly from the planet in a way that is different than Sage Mode users gather nature energy, and when Boruto fully charged it up, he can obliterate obliterate whoever is hit by it to a point where they can't regenerate, and at its weakest state, it brings people like Code, who are stronger than the Jigen who beat Naruto and Sasuke from Boruto episode 204. It brings someone like that down to their knees, unable to properly move, and if Boruto does not remove the jutsu, which is invisible, it will kill the user, a power that Boruto specifically made as a middle finger to the people who wish to harvest a chakra fruit to kill all life on Earth. A boy who once had a life of privilege is now fighting to prove his innocence, unseal his parents, and reclaim the life that was stolen from him. But ironically, he never learned any of the Uzumaki Clan sealing jutsu as of this recording, which is probably because of his grandmother Kushina not being there to teach him, which that brings us to Naruto's mother, Kushina Uzumaki. She is one of the members of the clan who were born with the rare chakra of only a few number of Uzumaki possessing, which allows them to be suitable to be Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. When she was brought to the village, she was initially bullied for her chubby face and having red hair, which led to her getting into fights whenever someone would call her a tomato. However, there's more to her than just being a former tomboy, being a former Jinchuriki with massive chakra reserves. There's a reason why each member of the legendary Sannin spoke fondly about her at one point in Naruto's manga, with Jiraiya flat out saying she had unique and a powerful fighting style. The fourth Naruto databook reveals that Kushina possessed strong mastery over yin-released jutsu, so things like genjutsu, but her knowledge was also vast when it came to all Uzumaki Clan sealing jutsu, and she also had mastery of wind and water release. In the Minato one-shot chapter called The World Within the Spiral, we see exactly what Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru meant when they praised her, where she impressively took down two Anbu Black Ops with a single use of her sealing chains, releasing them not through her torso, but instead releasing them through her fingertips. And it's revealed by the Anbu that the power of those chains, they increase as she grows older. Later on in this chapter, we see that a 15-year-old Kushina was able to use the chakra chains to hold down Kurama briefly, but not fully restrain him, with Kurama able to rip most of the chains off, while she and a 15-year-old Minato battled Kurama. Later on, a 24-year-old Kushina, after having gone through an excruciating childbirth, made even more complicated by the seal of the Nine Tails coming loose, and after getting the Nine Tails extracted from her body, we see that Kushina does not die right away like other non-Uzumaki who die immediately after Biju extraction. Not only was she able to continue living for a time, but she also played a very underrated role in helping Minato defeat Kurama. Despite being on her deathbed, she was able to muster up enough strength to flat out hold down Kurama to the point it could barely move, and simultaneously put up a barrier jutsu to prevent Kurama from escaping, or the third Hokage, who was only 57 years old at the time, so not too far removed from his prime. Even Hiruzen couldn't break through the barrier. This is even more impressive when you realize that this is Kurama at his full power, because his chakra had not yet been split in half by Minato. And as we see in the war arc, when shinobi use barrier jutsu at this level, it requires extreme concentration, evident by the Edo Tensei Hokage being limited in the number of shadow clones they can produce due to the concentration required, which, to give you a reminder how strong one half of Kurama is, one half of Kurama was strong enough that it could by itself overpower 5 Biju Dama being shot at it by the Edo Tensei Jinchuriki Obito control. Even more impressive for Kushina is the fact that when she was 15 years old, while having both halves of the Nine Tails sealed inside of her, she was able to maintain consciousness and even fight back against Kurama mentally, despite transforming into the Eight Tails version of the Nine Tails in the version 2 state, which saw her punch a hole through Minato's stomach. Though it should be worth noting, she was close to drowning as she laid in the chakra in that Biju sanctuary that she kept Kurama sealed inside of as time went on. But as we all know, Naruto only had one half of Kurama, so 8 tails for Kushina is really 4 tails for Naruto, and we saw how quickly Naruto lost control at 4 tails. He lost consciousness. To add even more to this, we learn in the end of the manga one-shot that Minato made the Rasengan for Kushina to use due to the fighting in the second Ninja War ramping up, which means that one of these jutsu that Jiraiya was praising Kushina for was the Rasengan, because Minato is implied to begin teaching her the jutsu at the end of the chapter. We also learn that Kushina during this era of the third Hokage, on top of of being kept under constant surveillance by the Anbu Black Ops had to also be kept inside of a massive ceiling barrier jutsu that was made in the pattern of her clan's crest. Kushina was never allowed to leave the barrier, and it's a cruelty for a girl who had dreams of becoming Hokage, but one of the things that she did do to pass time was teach Minato the sealing jutsu of her clan, with Minato learning them by her words super fast, basically daily. Yet each day when she returned home after training Minato, Kushina is shown in the manga one-shot being visibly frustrated, looking sad as she watches butterflies move through the air freely and unable to follow Minato through the village like she wanted to, partly out of jealousy since there were kunoichi who were openly pining after Minato right to her face. Beneath that fiery temper of hers was a loving heart that was fiercely protective of her loved ones, which is why she was openly upset when Minato told her that he was going to make their son into the next Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. When she said she didn't want her child to grow up as a Jinchuriki, it was a reference to how we see her treated by the third Hokage in that Minato one-shot, where she was isolated and kept alone from those she loved until she gained better control over Kurama. Next up, we're going to be going with Naruto's daughter, Himawari, the first Uzumaki to benefit from Naruto bringing the Hyuga clan into the Uzumaki clan bloodline. Himawari, on top of having awakened the Byakugan Eye and gotten basic training from her aunt and her mother, she also spent 3 years training on her own with the help of the new generation Inashikacho, that being Inojin, Shikadai, and Chocho during the 3-year time skip between Boruto Part 1 and Part 2, training to get stronger in the absence of her parents who she believes to be dead, and she's under the impression that Boruto killed them, but deep in her heart, Himawari refuses to believe the truth. However, Himawari also has another benefit. When Himawari was born, a small kernel of Kurama's chakra was born inside of Himawari, so that when Kurama got that massive power up via Baryon mode, when Kurama's chakra went away, he didn't die like expected, but instead that chakra transmigrated to Himawari's body, which gave Himawari a source of a hidden power deep inside of her that made Damon, someone who scales way above Jigen, get extremely excited about the possibility of fighting her. I want you to think about it like a bag of popcorn. When you buy it, the only thing that are in the bag are basically seeds, but you need heat in order for the seeds to pop and produce popcorn. Himawari's body was basically filled with seeds of Kurama, and once that chakra transmigrated to her, the chakra caused those seeds to form Kurama's chakra inside of her body, just as heat turns popcorn kernels into popcorn. According to Kurama, during Himawari's battle with Jura, Himawari, due to the mixed lineage that she has as a Hyuga and an Uzumaki, she has a body that has a higher affinity for using Kurama's chakra than anyone before her, and as we see in the battle with Jura, she has a very long way to go before she can truly say she's mastered Kurama's power. While she can produce Biju Dama, she was also cracking the ground when releasing chakra and when connecting on punches, and she was not in firm control in what was essentially her first real fight as a shinobi. And as Jura beats Himawari to a pulp, Kurama openly admits that potential alone isn't enough for Himawari, which means that at some point there's a training arc coming for potentially with her needing to learn sealing jutsu of the Uzumaki clan, perhaps even the jutsu created by the original clan leader. This of course brings us to the person who was the Uzumaki clan leader before Naruto. Ashina Uzumaki, the leader of the clan during the time Hashirama was Hokage, while he was only in the series briefly, we do have a rough idea of how strong he was. When we see a flashback, he was able to easily seal away a giant beast with only one sealing jutsu by himself and subdue it, taking it down near instantaneously. He led the Uzumaki clan through the Warring States era before dying at some point in the 60s due to unknown reasons, but not before he made a treaty with Hashirama. The cause of death, it isn't directly stated, but given he was skilled in both sealing jutsu and kenjutsu, which is basically swordplay, the only thing that makes sense is that he died during the massacre that wiped out most of the Uzumaki clan. The reason why I say this is because his name itself is a hint if you know anything about Japanese history. So Ashina is the name of a prominent clan from the Sengoku era of Japan that was wiped out during this time between the years of 1454 and 1568. There were several bloody rebellions and civil wars course, it would be during the time of the Battle of Sugihara that the Ashina clan would retreat across a river, and the bridge would be destroyed, and 23,000 soldiers would massacre the clan as a result. This is why, if you look at the flashback in volume 53 of the manga, where the hidden Eri village is shown destroyed, you see the water is part of the background, as well as what appears to be a destroyed bridge. One of the many small nods to Japanese history that you see in Naruto's manga, which is why I strongly believe it is likely that he did pass away here. Next up, we're going to be going with Menma Uzumaki, an alternate version of Naruto in the story that was created by the series creator Masashi Kishimoto in both a short manga chapter as well as the storyboard for what became the Naruto Shippuden movie, Road to the Ninja. So Menma Uzumaki is the Jinchuriki for the Black Nine Tails, that universe's version of Kurama. In this universe, Menma grew up with both of his parents and he would go on to become a Chunin, something that Naruto never did. Due to unknown methods, Black Kurama was removed from Kushina without ever killing her and somehow sealed into Menma, who managed to master this power. For reasons we don't know, Menma became a rogue ninja, leaving the village without anyone ever noticing, and as he lurked in the shadows, he quickly became an S-rank rogue shinobi because he was kidnapping shinobi who possessed super rare Kekkei Genkai, and then would turn his attention towards hunting down other Jinchuriki and even ended up killing Jiraiya in this universe. Unlike Naruto, who, while he could be bratty and have a smart mouth, Menma was just arrogant and he was a trash talker, and he had zero sympathy or remorse for those who he killed. Also, for reasons never disclosed, Menma has hair longer like Minato's, but his hair is black instead of blonde or red, which means Kushina might have cheated, joking of course. And briefly, when Obito possessed his body, we saw that Menma in battle, he's very talented when he's using a Sharingan. Unlike Naruto, he didn't have a seal that restrained the power of the Nine Tails, which allowed Menma to be a monster in combat. But we didn't see him use any Biju transformations, which by this point in the movie, it was being planned by Kishimoto. We did have Biju mode in the manga, so even though Menma had mastery of Kurama, he doesn't have the Nine Tails chakra cloak, but he can summon the Nine Tails outside his body to ride it in his physical form, and he can do so without killing him, and it's not a chakra avatar like we see Naruto use. He can also use living entities known as the Nine Masked Beasts. Think of them like his own versions of the Six Paths of Pain, but instead of having six, he has 9 bodies that he can control with his chakra. Likely due to having both of his parents, Menma is way more talented than Naruto, being able to use the spiraling ring jutsu, which is powerful enough to match Sage Mode Naruto's when released Rasen Shuriken. Yet we know from the movie guidebook and the movie novel that the jutsu, it does not use a change in chakra nature, which is insane when you think of how busted that makes it. Through other methods we don't know, he's able to fly, but flight, while rare in Naruto for non-Six Paths users, it is something that exists because we know people like Onoki and Kurotsuki, both of whom are Tsuchikage, are able to fly. Menma is also overpowered enough that with his great spiraling ring, one of his strongest attacks, he can casually destroy the majority of Konoha village and do so without him growing low on chakra, which makes him an even bigger monster. Which, speaking of monsters, we have Nagato Uzumaki. As the former student of Jiraiya, you rightfully expect Nagato to be broken, and he was. On top of having the Rinnegan of Madara Uchiha, Nagato was also something of a prodigy in that he was able to easily master all 5 changes in chakra nature at a young age. That flowing red hair of his was a sign that he inherited both the strong life force and high chakra reserves of the Uzumaki clan, but also that the chakra that Kushina called rare chakra amongst members of the clan, which made him ideal to be a Jinchuriki if need be. Due to growing up in a war-torn country during the Second Great Ninja War, where his parents be killed by Konoha shinobi, Nagato would attempt to use his training with Jiraiya to bring about peace, first to the Rain Village, and then it was a dream to bring about peace to the ninja world at large. But on one fateful day, Nagato would see Yahiko die during a joint operation by Danzo's Hidden Leaf Anbu and Hanzo's Hidden Rain Shinobi. In the time after that, Nagato would be gaslighted and manipulated by Obito, moved to form the Akatsuki organization, mission which had a multi-layered goal to bring about Nagato's vision for peace, carry out mercenary missions, and raise funds to eventually establish a shinobi village, and then use the Biju that the Akatsuki had extracted from the Jinchuriki to control the war economy and remind people that the pain of war is something that still exists, reminded of them long enough to force peace upon the shinobi world for an extended period of time, then repeat the process. Along the way of carrying out this goal, or rather trying to carry it out, Nagato would eventually end up killing multiple Jinchuriki who got their Biju extracted, and when his sensei Jiraiya tried to stop him, Nagato would kill him too. Nagato would then invade the Hidden Leaf Village to look for Naruto, and when he blew up the village, we would learn in the epilogue story set after Naruto chapter 699 that the damage done to the village was so great that the foundations in some parts of the village was broken too badly for even Konoha's scientific advancements to fix some areas. Nagato would ultimately redeem himself by reviving all the people in Konoha he killed by using the Rinne rebirth in exchange for his life. Even though he was far from the strongest Rinnegan user, Nagato would be remembered as one of the most talented users of the Rinnegan we ever had in the series. He is the person most people think about when they talk about Rinnegan users because of how effortlessly he switched back and forth between the Rinnegan powers, the basic powers. He used the 6 pass jutsu to make the 6 pass of pain, dead bodies that he can control simultaneously from afar using his chakra. He used the Deva pass ability to push and pull and do things like make the Chibaku Tensei that was strong enough to contain Naruto up to the 8th tail emerging. He used the Ashura pass ability to make weapons like laser cannons, rockets, buzz saws, and things of that nature. He used the Preta pass ability to absorb chakra. He used the Naraka path to summon the King of Hell to kill anyone who lied to him. He used the human path to rip out souls. He used the animal path to summon a near endless amount of summonings to fight on the battlefield. Had Nagato never been evil and allowed to live, he would have easily been one of the most powerful characters in the series, which says a lot because he was already strong enough that he made light work of Naruto and Killer Bee despite them being perfect Jinchuriki. Up next, we have Honoka Uzumaki. Honoka is a character who appeared only in the anime and Naruto Shippuden episode 227, but she has a pretty messed up origin story. She was a young girl who came from a clan that was never named, but it was specifically stated in the episode that this red-haired young girl came from a clan that is known for being suitable for being Jinchuriki, a tailed beast, and the sealing jutsu that she used was the Uzumaki clan's adamantine sealing chains, something that she could only use if she was a Uzumaki and taught the sealing jutsu. She was on an island for the purposes of using her sealing jutsu to restrain summoning animals that the researchers were doing experiments on in their attempt to make the ultimate summoning animal. Yet sadly, at some point, the beasts, they grew too powerful and Honoka was not able to contain it. The beast would go on to kill all of her comrades and she would spend the rest of her days on the island before she died. However, due to unknown reasons, she was able to somehow remain on the island after death in spirit, perhaps through some form of a sealing jutsu, similar to how Minato and Kushina sealed some of their chakra to interact with Naruto. Honoka's spirit remained on the island long enough to wait for Naruto and company to take down the ultimate summoning beast, with Honoka's sealing jutsu helping restrain the beast long enough for Naruto to destroy it, and only then would she be able to find peace. Now we move on to Karin Uzumaki, the sensory ninja who assisted Orochimaru as both a research subject as well as the warden of the southern hideout before she joined Sasuke to form Team Heavy. In terms of chakra natures, we do know that she possessed earth and water release according to the 4th data book, but what makes her truly special is the fact that she is one of the Uzumaki who have inherited strong genetics from the clan that makes her possess a large chakra pool and a strong life force, evident by her red hair, as well as the ability to use the Uzumaki clan's adamantine sealing chains, which Orochimaru initially says are the same as Kushina's, but the 4th Naruto databook clarifies that these aren't the same thing. They function similarly, but they're not Kushina's chains. During her early years, Karin and her mother stayed in the Hidden Grass Village on the brutal condition that Karin's mother be used as a medic who would allow others to bite her due to the healing properties of her chakra. The reason for this is, as you would expect, it goes back to the tragic misfortune of the Uzumaki Clan massacre, where so many of them went into hiding, so Karin's mom didn't have a say in the matter. Eventually, after a massive battle, Karin's mom passed away due to giving up too much of her own chakra, basically being bitten so much that it drained her to absolute zero, which is death in the Naruto world. This would result in Karin being forced to step in. At some point, Karin would take the tuning exams where she would develop a crush on Sasuke after he saved her, but her team would fail the exams. In the time after this, Karin would be very unfortunate in meeting Orochimaru. When the village that she was in got burnt down, and when one of the attackers realized that she was the Uzumaki, he attempted to sell her on the black market due to her value, but Orochimaru would step in and take her under his wing as he figured out her value as both an Uzumaki as well as a talented sensory ninja. Her sensory abilities, they're just crack. She's able to sense chakra without making any real effort, which makes her an extremely high-level shinobi in this regard, because most sensory ninjas need to mold chakra and use hand signs for the hand sign of confrontation in order to sense chakra, but Karin, she can do it without hand signs or even needing to mold chakra. It's as natural to her as breathing. She's able to tell the species of the chakra that she senses as well as the chakra levels of her target, and also serve as a human lie detector since she can detect the changes in chakra when someone's lying. She can also completely erase her chakra signature in what is a watered down version of what the Uzushiogakure clan can do naturally. However, unlike the Uzushiogakure, she cannot perform jutsu or attacks when erasing her chakra signature. Instead, she has to refrain from using any jutsu at all, and she has to keep her movements to a bare minimum. Her chakra chains, while inferior to Kushina's, they are still pretty strong, being able to destroy a chunk of the wooden statue that Spiral Zetsu used in the war. By the time of the Boruto era, as shown in the Jugo arc, she is able to freely use her chakra chains on command. Her chakra reserves are a lot higher than people give her credit for. Case in point, how she was able to fully restore all of Tsunade's chakra to the point where Tsunade is able to reuse the Byakugo seal, and then later on she's able to still manifest the chakra chains that are strong enough to break the wooden statue. This is where we move on to Fuso. Fuso Uzumaki was only in the manga for a short period of time, and she was Nagato's mother. She worked as a nurse in the Hidden Rain village before she was killed in the Second Great Ninja War. It would be during that war that Konoha shinobi would break into her home looking for food and water, and when they mistook her for an enemy shinobi, Fuso and her mother would be killed when they tried to sneak away, which would begin to spur Nagato's hatred for the Hidden Leaf village. Due to her red hair, it's safe to say she also inherited the large chakra reserves and life force of the clan, but since she had zero shinobi combat training and her only skills were a nurse, she obviously ended up dying. We now move on to one of the more underrated members of the Uzumaki clan, Mito Uzumaki. Mito was the wife of Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage, and we learn in Naruto Volume 53 that at some point during Hashirama's battle against Madara and the Nine Tails, Mito herself would step in to assist Hashirama by sealing the Nine Tails into her body. Due to the Senju clan and Uzumaki clan being distant relatives and Hashirama's desire to form an alliance with them, Mito would end up marrying Hashirama. Like Kushina, she possessed the rare chakra that only a few in her clan possessed, which made her the perfect host for the entire Nine Tails. Years later, when she gave birth to her child with Hashirama, the seal she used on Kurama almost broke, which is how Konoha learned what happens when a female Jinchuriki gets pregnant. The biju inside of them can escape if the seal isn't restored quickly. We don't know if the child was Tsunade's mother or father, since Mito was her grandmother, but we can assume it may have been, unless Tsunade, her other parent, was from outside the clan, and that parent's the one that married Mito's kid. When she did near the end of her life, Mito chose Kushina to become the next Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, and even in her old age, Mito still retained some of that vibrant red hair of hers, though it did lose some of its color. It would be during that time that Mito would ease the fears of Kushina that she had about being a Jinchuriki, telling her that love was the key to enduring the burden of being a Jinchuriki, and it would be at some point after the Nine Tails was extracted from her and sealed into Kushina that Mito would die. die. Now, we don't know much about her combat ability, but the 4th Naruto databook does confirm she had high chakra levels and rare chakra only a few in her clan inherited. She is also one of the few people who exists in the history of Konoha who can say that they lived through the first 3 Hokage's reigns, or at least part of the first 3 Hokage's reigns, because she obviously died before Minato became 4th Hokage. However, for as talented as she was using sealing jutsu, she doesn't appear to have mastered Kurama. While some believe that she is the person who inherited the Byakugo seal, there is no official confirmation of that, so we won't include that in this video. Next, we're going to move on to Karin Uzumaki's mom, who is an anime-only character and was never named. Karin's mom traveled back to the hidden grass village, and in exchange for being allowed to stay there, but kept under strict watch, she was basically used as a human chakra bank. Anytime there were conflicts from missions or proxy wars between smaller villages like the grass village, Karin's mom, she would be used as a shinobi to heal people by letting them bite her. She cared deeply for her daughter, enough to endure the severe abuse that she did inside the village, and even the years afterwards, she would be bitten so much that there would be marks over her body that would not heal, and one day she would be bitten so much that the shinobi, they drained her of her chakra to absolute zero, which ultimately resulted in her dying and her daughter being forced to take her place. Now, before we get into the final Uzumaki Clan member, I do want to briefly mention 2 honorable mentions. Tsunade and her brother Nawaki, they are technically descendants of the Uzumaki clan since Mito is their grandfather. However, we don't know anything about their parents, so we don't know if, say, the father came from another clan and the mother was the child of Hashirama and Mito, or vice versa. However, given Nawaki and Tsunade never in canon use the name Senju, anything you read referring to them as being Senju is merely fan translations. I'm not going to go into any detail about them here, but if we want to be technical, there's an argument that they do belong. So let's move to our final Uzumaki. Lastly, we have Kawaki Uzumaki. Now, Kawaki makes this list strictly because of what happened with the ability known as Omnipotence, which saw Kawaki and Boruto swap lives in the memories of everyone who was not affected by the jutsu, so basically only a handful of people. In everyone's mind, Kawaki is the firstborn child of Naruto, and so he goes by the name of Kawaki Uzumaki. Due to how Omnipotence works, nobody questions why he doesn't have Momoshiki's chakra or why he has scientific ninja tech. Originally, Kawaki was born the son of a man who we were told in the flashback episode for Kawaki and Boruto's anime was a talented shinobi who lost his mind during the 4th Ninja War. This resulted in him becoming an alcoholic who would regularly beat Kawaki as a child and force him to sleep without food if Kawaki did not earn enough money by cutting wood to buy him liquor to drink. On one fateful night, Jigen would appear at Kawaki's home and his father would sell Kawaki to Jigen, and when Kawaki protested against it, his father would smash a bottle over his head so he could complete the sale. From there, Kawaki would be put through several inhumane experiments. First, he would be put through the process of seeing if he was compatible with Ishiki's karma seal, which killed over 20 children in the process, trying to find a vessel for Jigen to pass on Ishiki's karma to. After Kawaki did survive the process, Kawaki would have his entire body experimented on by Amato by getting injected by scientific ninja tech, making him a cyborg with the ability to heal himself, get superhuman strength, and fire off chakra blasts through his palms. On a cellular level, his entire body was replaced with nanotech, packed with Amato's ninja tech that was far more advanced than anything Konoha could develop, and another perk of this ninja tech is that Kawaki can make his body into any type of weapon he wants. During the time after he escaped Kara, Kawaki would be adopted by Naruto as a second son and directly trained by Naruto as Naruto's first student even as Hokage. Kawaki, despite having a tendency to move back to using ninja tech and karma, he showed a high aptitude for shinobi techniques. He quickly learned how to walk on trees without any issues on the first try. He learned the shadow clone jutsu and fire release changing chakra nature while training under Naruto. This combined with what he learned from Jigen, it made Kawaki into a formidable fighter. However, due to having never experienced the love of a father before, Kawaki grew obsessed with Naruto to the point he would kill Naruto's son Boruto when Momoshiki hijacked Boruto's body, both because Boruto begged him to kill him, but also because Kawaki viewed Boruto as a monster who is a danger to Naruto. When Momoshiki brought Boruto back to life, Kawaki would seal Naruto away during their confrontation where Naruto told Kawaki that before he could kill Boruto, Kawaki would have to kill Naruto first, and so Kawaki would attempt to then go on to try to kill Boruto and Sarada, which resulted in Boruto getting the scar over his eye. After accidentally using the power of omnipotence to swap lives with Boruto, Kawaki would take advantage of his newfound status as Uzumaki Kawaki to frame Boruto for the murder of Naruto and Hinata, who aren't really dead, they're just sealed away, and he would sit back and allow the entire ninja world to hunt down Boruto, knowing that Boruto would never harm innocent people, and basically wait for others to capture Boruto or give himself an opening to kill Boruto himself. Currently in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, Kawaki is in the process of unlocking Ishiki's full attack power and making modifications to his body to ensure he is strong enough to kill Boruto. While that's gonna be it for this video, click here on the left to watch more videos from Naruto Explained, or click here above for this video for my Everything One Piece Explained channel, or click here on the right to watch this video for my Anime Explained channel where I talk about non-Naruto anime.